I just pulled up to the National Fitting Centre for Titleist. Titleist just released new irons and we get to do a full iron fitting. I've been fit by Titleist before, but not at their National Fitting Centre. So let me show you guys my experience. We'll go meet our fitters and we'll take a look at those brand new Titleist irons. Let's go. Guys, today we got two Ryans from Titleist. This Ryan is our fitting expert. He's gonna do a full fitting for myself. And this Ryan is our marketing specialist. He's gonna walk us through the new Titleist irons. So let's go take a look. Okay, Ryan, what are we looking at this year?
So 5 new models, 4th generation T-Series irons. I'll back it up to say basically our iron design philosophy follows our iron fitting philosophy. So you may have heard from us over the years, we're talking about 3 Ds. First D in that 3D thing is distance control. So what we're doing is consistent, repeatable distance, 5-mile-an-hour distance or ball speed between every club so that we can ensure that you have consistent distance. And what that means in an iron lineup is we've got things like variable face thickness. We've got a new aggressive groove in our mid and short irons to ensure consistent distance when you get into the rough or you catch the ball high off the face, get a bit of a flyer. When I get into the second D is dispersion control. So that's your lefts and your rights. Your fitter Ryan here today will definitely control your longs and your shorts, get that really tight. Lefts and rights will work in a fitting environment to really tighten that up, help you find target more consistently. But we do it in an iron design standpoint with an incredible amount of tungsten and uniquely positioned in the heel and the toe to control your lefts and rights.
What's the main benefit of tungsten?
Tungsten does 2 things. One is it controls basically those off-center hits, so you get less twisting, so you're going to find target more consistently, but also it gets weight really low in the head to produce higher height. And that's our 3rd D, is around descent angle. Best players in the world, the guys that make the most money on the PGA Tour, the ones that hit it the highest. So we try to work on getting a very steep angle of descent between 45 and 55 degrees. You think about that really fast ball speed. You've hit your 5-mile-an-hour gap that's screaming in at 20 feet and a land angle short of that. It's landing on the front, sure, but running off the back, you're not going to score there. So if we can get you approaching the green from a higher angle of descent, hold that green, you're going to find the target more consistently and score better. So across the lineup, we've got basically our new T100 iron, #1 iron on the PGA Tour for the last 11 seasons, 20 of the last 21 seasons. Titleist iron's been #1. Basically, our tour players say, don't screw up the shape. I love it. So we don't mess with a good thing. But if you can give us anything, they're asking for higher launch, particularly in the long irons, and more consistent spin in that mid and short irons, particularly when we get into that, wet, damp, rough, that intermediate cut, get into the sand, or I'm playing it off a tee and I might catch it high in the face. So more predictable outcomes. As you work your way up into the 150, this is our Forged Players Distance iron. It's 1 millimeter longer than the previous generation, better proportions at address, but it also allows us to push that tungsten further into the heel and the toe for more stability. As you work your way into the newer looking stuff in the lineup, the new T250, it's considerably different stuff going on under the hood than the previous generation, so it warranted a new naming convention. So we go from T200 to T250. This is now the same offset, the same sort of top line sole geometry, but about 1.5 millimeters longer than it was in the previous generation. For the same reason as the 150, gives you a little bit more confidence at address. And then some cool stuff going on under the hood. Our max impact comes back in this technology, helps us to achieve more consistent ball speed across the face.
Can I stop you for a half second?
Yeah.
The elephant in the room.
Sure.
All of these screws in the back of the iron.
Yeah. So you don't see them in the retail heads or what you've seen in the bags of tour players. What it is, it's a fitting story. So we're able now in the new generation of irons to change out the weight in the club head to be 6 grams lighter. So if you're a player that plays over length, when we're building that club for you back in Carlsbad, that's going to be 6 gram lighter head. So we can replicate basically what your final build spec will be here on the fitting tee. So it's more predictable, build a little bit more confidence in what you're ultimately getting fitted to.
Very cool.
And other fitting stories, we've got a new SureFit hosel system, which we'll walk you through today. There's basically 28 different positions for loft and for lie angle that we can dial in your performance here on the fitting tee. It's really exciting. Another cool story built on the 250 is a new product called 250 Launch Spec. Same great design, same technology, but these ones are engineered to play 1, 6 grams lighter, and 2, engineered to basically 4.5 degrees in the 7 iron weaker. So some players that struggle for speed struggle to get the ball up, get enough spin on the club, and don't realize the benefits of some of the new players' distance and the game improvement technology. So by giving them loft back, but in a package that gives them all the other technological benefits. We see players launching it higher and spinning it more than they ever have.
I think my dad might be a good person to try those out on. He's got good speed coming out low, but he just doesn't get the ball high.
No, we'll test this today, and what you're going to see is that ball wants to just get up, and it may not be the right fit for you, but certainly tell a story.
Okay, cool.
The last one is probably the best kept secret in golf is T350, our game improvement iron. This is you're looking for maxing out speed, forgiveness in a really attractive package. We do quite a lot of little things to hide just how large this iron is and hide some of the forgiveness. But when you get onto the fitting tee, when you get onto the golf course, it doesn't lie. The ball wants to go far and go straight. And we've got it in this really attractive package that helps us blend through the rest of the set quite seamlessly.
So cool. Well, I'm excited to hit them. When do we get started fitting?
Let's do it.
All right, Bren. So we're going to start off. We're going to go through every model. We're going to hit a couple shots with each one. We're going to see T100, T150, 250, 350, and Launch Spec as well. Once we see the differences between those irons, we'll showcase those. And then we're going to get into the actual fitting session itself.
Amazing.
All right.
So this in my hand is what?
This is T100. So this is essentially the specs that you play right now. So we're going to use the same shaft that you play.
Cool.
We're going T100 first, and then we're going to work our way up to those more game improvement irons.
Sweet.
All right.
So what I found so cool is that you had all of my specs in your system from when you guys fit me the last time.
Yeah. Yeah, we can pull them up basically, you know, almost however many years back. So if a player's unsure, if they lose their spec sheet, just jump on the computer, type your name in, and I've got everything right in front of me, so I know what you're playing.
So that's not just because I film golf videos. Anyone that gets fit by Titleist will have that history of their old stuff.
Absolutely.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, this feels like home. It already looks like home.
Good swing on that first one there.
So for this fitting, you guys had your whole lineup of balls.
We've got every model golf ball in our premium lineup, essentially. So, you know, we've got Pro V1, Pro V1X, Pro V1X left dash, and then if we do have that high spin, high flight player and needs to really bring it down even more so than Pro V1, we've got AVX as well.
Cool. So we are filming using a TrackMan to get all of our data, and are we in Toronto, or where are we? North York, Ontario.
Yeah.
Being out west, I just assume everything over here is Toronto. So we're not quite Toronto, we're North York.
Yeah, we're half hour north of Toronto.
So naive, this Calgarian.
We'll hit one or two more with that, and then we'll sort of flip into that T150. Okay, grab that back from you, switch it out. How'd that one feel though?
It's really good.
Good.
Played that for a full season and a half, so they feel really good. There's just something about hitting a new iron. Like to just look at something that has no chatter on it, no, wear marks. It's like Christmas opening up and hitting new irons.
All right, 150 coming in hot now.
How long you been with Titleist?
I've been here for 8 years. So our new building, our facility here after renovation opened in 2017. So I've been here since the opening of the new building after that reno.
So cool. Feels heavier already.
Okay.
True or false?
I would say false.
Okay.
Essentially what we should see here with the 150 is we should see a little jump in ball speed and a little drop in spin rate.
I mean, we couldn't have picked a better day to do this fitting because this really simulates the conditions I play in a lot.
Good, yeah.
Into a headwind.
Yep.
It's a little cool. Like I hate almost fitting on a perfect day because it's almost unrealistic just where I play.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see kind of the data that we get through this fitting just because this is so true to the conditions we normally play in.
That's great. And ideally for us fitters, we get a breeze that's straight into our face because that miss that you might have will get exaggerated if it's straight into the wind.
Yeah.
If you're fitting straight downwind, everything, even if you miss it right or left, it's going to just kind of blow it on line a little bit more, right?
Right.
So this is the ideal conditions to fit in as well.
Perfect.
Good swing there.
I notice on the hosels, this is a new hosel this year.
It is, yeah. So we've got 28 different hosel settings now versus, you could be standard, lie angle, 2 flat, or 2 up, or 4 up. Now we can go any of those lie angles, but in 1 degree increments. We can go up to 2 degrees weaker by 1 degree increments as well, or 1 degree stronger. So we've got all those different options now. So we can kind of take out the guesswork of, oh, you should probably play a degree weaker or a degree stronger. Your spin's a little higher, a little low. It should work kind of thing. Now we can hit it and see it. and see exactly what it does.
You said it takes a bit of the guesswork out, which I'm sure is kind of a fitter's dream, really, right?
Absolutely. It makes our job a lot easier. It's a very educated guess in the prior gen, but now to just be able to see it and actually show that player concrete data, it's super beneficial for us.
So cool. Should we keep hitting this 150?
Yeah, hit that one or two more times, and then we're going to give you 250 now. All right, let's get into some of these higher ball speed irons now. So we're going to jump into T250.
I mean, I like the dispersion so far, and I think a lot of that is the shaft that you guys have already fit me for. Yeah,
and the shaft, the shaft's pretty well a timing device more than it is anything else, right? As we hear a lot of, this club or this whatever spins too much or not enough, I need a higher or lower spinning shaft. It's like, if you spin it too much, you need something in a stronger loft first and foremost. We kind of talk like, what decides launch conditions more, and it's what we make, being heads and golf balls. If you're playing an MB with a Pro V1X, it's going to spin a heck of a lot more than if you're hitting a T250 and a Pro V1.
Okay.
Right? And now the shaft, again, it's not unimportant, but it's not quite as important as a lot of people would think.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I've never been fit by Titleist, which I have, where are you starting?
A lot of the players will bring in their own clubs, so that gives us a really good baseline right off the hop. But if they don't have anything, I'm not necessarily guessing, but it's more of like, okay, if I see that they have a, let's say, slower club head speed and they struggle with height, I'm going to just start them off in a lighter shaft. Something lighter is going to encourage more height. Or if it's somebody like you and you don't have your clubs with you and we don't know what your specs are per se, I'm looking at that and it's like, we're going to give you something on the heavier, extra stiff side because of your speed and the height that you can produce.
Interesting. Okay, very cool. T250, we're just getting a bit more cavity.
Yeah, and so we get a little wider sole as well. So wider sole, stronger loft. We're going to still see that golf ball launch up in the air, but we're going to see more ball speed with the stronger lofts, a little bit of a less of a spin rate, but it's still going to climb up in the air, kind of where you're used to seeing your window.
Cool. Okay. I mean, like visually, top down, don't really notice a difference. With them not being beside each other, they all look like a very similar profile.
That's what we like to hear.
Whoops.
And it's interesting that you bring that up, that top line and stuff like that doesn't look super different from what you were just hitting in a T150 or even a T100.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of our engineering process, obviously, is we want the majority of our players, or almost all of them, to be able to blend sets. So you don't really want to look at, say, your 4 and 5 iron and be like, this is completely different from my 6 and the other ones, right?
That makes sense.
We want them all to kind of be seamless.
I mean, pretty forgiving. That one was super skinny, like probably the very last groove on the head.
Definitely something you can get away with there.
Yeah.
And we, in T100, we saw something around the 6,800 spin mark for you. In this iron, it's kind of more of like now a 5,800, 5,900 spin rate, right? So we would always say in a fitting, we want to show you what these irons are going to do, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't want you walking out of here with your 7 iron being sub 6,000 spin.
Right.
Because even out of the rough is when that can start to come down a little bit more, right? So we want to make sure that you're consistent across the board in your irons and in your strikes.
Cool.
Some good ball speed there. Right, and there's another good example. That was almost 190 on the fly at 5,700 spin.
Wow.
So it's not quite what you need, but the iron's doing its job in a sense of giving you that extra ball speed and that little extra distance.
No kidding.
Want to try 350?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
How many guys do you fit for combo sets? Is that pretty common?
It's extremely common, especially out of this facility here. I'd say at least every player, we have them entertain the idea. If that player plays a 4 iron, we test a 5 iron once we land on specs. So we look for 5 mile/per-hour ball speed differences between each club. That'll give them 10 to 15 yards. And then the other big one is they have to hit their peak height. So if you hit a 7 iron 100 feet in the air, we want your 5 iron, your 4 iron to go 100 feet in the air as well. So if you're a T100 player and your T100 5 iron doesn't do that job, we already know the 4 iron won't do it as well. And that's when we'll start introducing T150 or T250 in there. So out of here all the time for sure, and on tour and at the highest level of golf, whatever tour it may be, the number sits at 80% of players play a blended set. And that's just kind of what the average player who comes through here is very surprised about. They think, oh, they're tour players, they play blades 2 through pitching wedge. And that's certainly not the case. So lots of kind of T250 long irons and utility irons out there for the best players in the world.
Wow, that's cool to know.
T350.
T350, okay, this is the game improvement.
This is the game improvement where we're gonna see, you know, even more ball speed than we saw off that T250. Let's see what we get out of it here.
Let's give it a rip, okay.
Yeah.
And we're still 7-iron, right?
We're still 7-iron.
I mean, I didn't like how I hit either of those, but both results seem pretty decent.
There's lots of forgiveness in that iron head.
There we go. As a fitter, what are some of the main data points that you're looking at?
With irons, I'm looking mostly at numbers like spin and height. When we start off in the fitting, my main concern is ball speed and keeping the ball speed consistent. So you have a 6-iron and an 8-iron, so this club should never do those jobs. So we want to flatline the ball speed on any one individual club. If it's jumping around and you have, you know, 3 shots and we see 120 ball speed, 110 and 131, there's a huge problem there, right? So we want to flatline it, make sure that's doing the thing. And then once we have you in the correct length and consistent strikes, looking a lot at landing angle, so that peak height and descent angle, and then spin rate, make sure, you know, you're getting the distance you deserve, but it's not going too far or too short.
Really
so
cool.
we dial in the spin rate as well.
Awesome.
Those are kind of the main points I'm looking at for irons.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. That's a pretty good showcase there of how, even in that stronger loft game improvement iron, how it wants to get up in the air for that player, right?
That went so high.
Yeah. And the one prior was 190 carry, 116 peak height. So it's coming in, it's stopping pretty quick.
Wow.
Yeah. One more with that one. We're gonna hit the iron we haven't hit yet in the T250 Launch Spec.
Okay.
Certainly see how that iron can make golf easy for a lot of players, eh?
I totally see that.
Yeah.
If you need height, that might be a really good one.
Absolutely. Okay. Brandon, T250 Launch Spec.
Okay.
Same head as the T250, 4.5 degrees weaker in the 7-iron. So this is gonna help get that golf ball up in the air. It's gonna help spin it. So those players that need that, and I wouldn't even necessarily categorize a certain type of player, because we've started to see fast, slow, you name it, needing some extra spin. You could be very in to out, could just need help getting the ball up in the air.
Right.
This has been a really cool iron for us.
With it going higher, are you sacrificing distance?
Not necessarily. If you spin it too much, yes. But if you're a player who hits it low with low spin, you'll actually gain distance by hitting it higher and spinning it more.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah.
So at 4 degrees, is it almost the same loft as like a stock T100 9-iron?
It would be the same loft as a stock MB 7-iron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
interesting.
35 degree 7-iron here.
Whoops. Thought about that one for way too long.
That's all right. But even like, so really good example of what this iron does, right? When you're hitting T100, you're in the 6,800 RPM range.
Yeah.
The last one you hit prior to that shot there was 8,600 spin.
Oh, wow.
So that's where, to answer your question earlier, that's where it would hurt you for distance.
Right.
Because you hit it pretty solid, it only flew $160. Where your 7-iron was flying at like, what, 175 in a T100?
Yeah.
So it's spinning closer to like an 8.5, 9-iron when you hit that like that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
When I really catch it, it really climbs up on the face, eh?
That one just wants to get up in the air. I mean, that one was your best strike in that iron.
Yeah.
7,800 RPM spin, so a little on the high side, 110 peak height, 166 carry. So again, not necessarily the iron for you,
Right.
but you can see for that type of player that just needs help spinning it, that iron makes it really easy in a head shape that, you know, not everybody is super confident hitting a T100, right? So it gives that little bit more confidence for that player.
I mean, it's doing its job.
Exactly. That's all we can ask for this iron.
Very cool.
Okay, Brendan. So after we hit all the irons, basically where I'm at here is, you know, the numbers that were provided when you hit T100 look really, really good. I think we can maybe improve on it a little bit, but I think T100 is a really good starting point for your irons. And where we're going to start is, again, the shaft that you were previously fit into. We're going to check out a couple different options, see if there is something better, but we're basically going to start in the specs that you play right now and then work off those baseline numbers.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so let's see that.
tugging it.
So that leads me to a good question that I'll ask, and I'll ask you some questions as you're hitting some shots, kind of conduct a player interview in a sense of things. We just saw that kind of turn over a little right to left, miss the green left.
Yeah.
Would that be a common miss for you? Like at the end of the day, I always ask a player, like what are we here for? What do we actually want to see in an improvement to make that switch from your current irons into new ones?
Well, that's a great question. For me, I think with my current T100s is that I'm just hitting them almost too high.
Okay.
Sometimes where I have troubles just kind of keeping it down.
Yep.
That left miss, like I feel like I've been swinging decent today, and only the T100 I feel like I've turned it over.
Okay.
So why that is, I'm not sure.
Sure.
Would that be a miss? It could be. I mean, sometimes I have a two-way miss. I could have a little floater out to the right, or we tug it over.
Yep.
So I would say that yes, that is probably true to some of my misses.
Okay, fair. And ultimately though, you kind of want to see maybe height come down a little bit if we could.
That would be the only thing I think looking at my current T100s is if I was to just could bring it down a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at your peak height, I mean, on that last one, obviously, like you said, we turned it over a little bit. You're sitting at 102 peak height. So again, tour average is anywhere from 95 to 115. But we spoke before is that there's a direct correlation with the top money earners on every tour, essentially, with how high they hit it.
Right.
So you got Scotty who hits it upwards of 120, 25 feet, Rory, 130 feet sort of thing. So
Wow.
the top players in the world they hit it kind of just as high as you do. And again, you're swinging 7-iron at almost 94 miles an hour, and that's a little quicker than tour average. So with speed comes height.
Do you see my head growing the more you talk?
Well, we just need to manage, like again, you're not gonna walk out of here with a 7-iron that flies 80 feet in the air.
Right.
But if we can manage it with maybe a little extra weight in the shaft or something like that and make it more controllable, then the height's a good thing at the end of the day.
Okay, cool.
Really solid strike there. So after a few shots here and us getting baseline numbers, I like the length that you're in. So at the end of the day, we just had one that was a little bit of an outlier in a sense of a quicker ball speed, and it was the first one on the pull.
Right.
The other ones were all really good. Like at the end of the day, we want a flat line, meaning we want every shot with this iron to be within around 2 miles an hour of one another and not much difference there. So the first shot you hit was 131, but it was the pull shot. They were sitting at 126.2, 128, 128.
Wow.
So pretty consistent across the board there on those strikes, right?
Yeah.
So I think the length that you're in is just fine. I think we tinker around a little bit with some different shafts and see if we can find anything that maybe feels or performs better than what you're playing.
Cool.
Just a little shaft change here. Made a little tweak in lie angle. We just went 1 degree flat just to see what that does for your ball flight. But from a height and spin standpoint, T100 is going to be a really good iron for you.
Okay.
Like at the end of the day, a lot of players will think maybe go to a stronger loft. It's going to help you hit it lower. At the end of the day, it's going to help you hit it further.
Right.
You're still, with your speed, you're still going to hit it 100, 110, 15 feet in the air.
Right.
So let's just see if we can find a different combination that maybe you can control a little better and makes golf a little bit easier.
Okay. I like the sounds of that. I like easy golf. It's an oxymoron, easy golf.
Golf's hard enough.
I mean, that felt super pulley and it held the line a lot better.
Yeah, I can clean that up for you here.
That's service right there.
Absolutely.
Now, I know you said you went flat, and that's obviously because I have the pull miss going, right? I always thought taller guys would go upright versus flat. Is there a standard on going upright or flat?
Not for a player's height. So as you can tell, I didn't even ask you how tall you were. I didn't, do anything like measure wrist to floor length or anything like that. We're using just ball speed metrics for length. So again, taller players generally will have longer arms than shorter players. And then at the end of the day, lie angle wise, I don't care about the height. I don't really care about what the divot looks like. I only care about in a fitting what the golf ball's doing after you hit it.
That makes sense.
Yep. And again, we're gonna, like I said, test some different shafts, but how long have you been playing those Modus irons for?
In like a year and a half.
So like I said, that's, your timing device and you're so used to how it moves.
Right.
Sometimes players come in and they want new irons and they're like, well, you didn't change the shaft on me. It's like, you're the most consistent with it, right? Because at the top of your swing, you know where that club is because you've been swinging it like that with those shafts in there for a year and a half.
Right.
So you're used to the timing of it.
That makes sense.
Good swing there.
That's probably my best one.
Would you say that felt any better than what you were previously hitting in the Modus 120?
Felt better. I mean, I think they feel similar.
Okay.
I mean, dispersion results, I feel like the Modus, I had a tighter dispersion window.
I would agree. This on paper, again, being like, say, a lower spinning shaft, spin rate with Modus was 6,700 spin rate here was 68.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, unless you change this, the head, like I said, is kind of doing that heavy lifting for launch conditions.
Right.
But yeah, I would certainly agree that dispersion-wise, you were a little bit tighter with that Modus 120.
Okay.
We're gonna try one more here though. We're gonna try Dynamic Gold X100.
Okay.
130 grams, so we get a little more weight there, even more so than Project X 6.5 at 125 grams. Every gram counts in a sense, so we're gonna see if does adding that extra weight actually benefit you from like a height standpoint or not.
Right. Something that I get in a lot of comments in my videos, someone will say generically, I'm a high spin iron player, what shaft should I use? I feel like that's such a hard question to answer. How would you, a professional fitter for Titleist, answer something like that?
I would first and foremost ask them what heads they're playing, right? Because you can put the lowest spinning shaft on an MB, or you can put the highest spinning shaft on a T350. It's like, which one's gonna spin more, right? That MB is always gonna spin more because of the loft. Even if you de-loft it at impact, or if you're a high dynamic loft player, whatever you do, at the end of the day, you're gonna do it with any head. So if you are playing a stronger lofted iron, you're gonna present less loft and it's gonna spin less.
Interesting.
Yeah. How's this one feeling?
I mean, I like it a lot better than the, what did we just have, a Project X?
Yeah. I don't hate this one either.
No, it feels really good, very comparable, I think, to the Modus.
Yeah.
My timing, I feel, is just that much better changing to this shaft from the last one.
Yeah, good. And interesting to see too, across those three shafts, which are three different profiles, your spin rate varied by 100 RPM.
Wow.
Which is essentially nothing.
So the shaft's not really doing anything to spin. Like you said, it's all the head.
We always joke around and say, you know, shafts don't spin.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So is it just marketing that they throw a low spin profile on each shaft?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, a little bit for sure. The shaft companies need to sell shafts at the end of the day. Again, the argument is you have a hazardous, for example, that says low spin on the shaft. If I put a GT1 12-degree driver on there, it's gonna spin high.
Mythbusters at the Titleist Fitting Centre.
Gonna revisit Modus.
Okay.
And just kind of see is like, you know, from a feel standpoint, is that really what is kind of the best one for you and how it feels? We're not necessarily sitting here trying to get you out of a shaft, especially if you like your irons and how they perform right now.
Right. But that being said, I'm open to changing if we do find something better.
Absolutely, for sure.
Have you got a chance to fit any fun Toronto celebrity athletes, any hockey players or baseball players coming through here?
Not yet this summer. We usually will see some hockey players at some point. We've had, just prior to the Canadian Open, we had some guys that made it in sort of thing. So they came in for a little tune-up or let's say a new club, you know, for the Canadian Open or something like that. So
I think it's fun, worth noting, as we pulled up, as we're getting ready, Mike Weir was on the range, warming up. Just finished the Canadian Open. He's playing here at a tournament. So you never know who you're going to see at this range.
Absolutely.
Really cool.
Good swing there.
I mean, this just does what I'm used to.
And that's where it's like, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? Now, the only thing I would say for you as well is with T100 lofts, now the new ones being a little bit different, 1 degree stronger than what you're playing, I actually kind of prefer you in these lofts over even a degree weaker. Because when you do hit that little right miss, it gets up to 71, 7,200. You don't really want much more than that. Right? That one there, that it turned over a decent amount, maybe wind helping it a little bit do that, but you know, 6,400 spin, but also at that height, it's stopping. So you don't really need more spin is what I'm after.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
For people that aren't familiar with spin, or now it's a metric that they're thinking of, it used to kind of be whatever club times 1,000 was your ideal spin window. 7 iron, 7,000 spin.
Yep.
Are we still, we're obviously coming down a little bit more than that. How do you help the average player find the right spin? It's
certainly still sort of that window of number on the sole of the iron multiplied by 1,000. What I would say is, especially out on tour nowadays, you're even seeing players liking to see a little bit more because of the speed that they're at. They don't want to hit a 195-yard 7-iron.
Right.
Tour average, I think, is around 173 carry with a 7-iron at the same club head speed that you're at, essentially 92, 93 miles an hour. I would say it's all in relation to who the player is though, right? Like if a player comes in and they're spinning their 7-iron at 5,000 RPM, I'm gonna say, hey, you need more.
Right.
Direct correlation as well between height is like you can get away, for example, at 6,000 RPM based on you hitting it 115 feet in the air and being able to stop it. But you always have to think is that when you do hit a shot out of the rough, is you're gonna see a little less spin than off the fairway.
Yeah.
We don't really ever want to see anything sub 6,000.
Okay.
And then when you get into the 8,500 and so on and so forth, like you did in Launch Spec, that's when you start hitting a 7-iron 160 yards.
Right.
So that's where it starts hurting the player. But a lot of players think spin, like they're almost scared of spin. Spin's your friend at the end of the day. It's again, more backspin does create a little less left to right curve.
Oh, okay.
So if you're just after everything to be really low spin, on a windy day, it's going to kind of blow it all over the place.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like I would say we're pretty locked in on your specs. Like I think you could play one or the other between 1 degree flat or standard, and
right.
that's really splitting hairs.
Right. I mean, if I can do that every time,
exactly.
I don't think it's ever going to leave my bag.
That's where I'm at too with that iron, and that was awesome.
Now that we've hit a bunch of 7-irons, I think you guys have some cool options for longer distance gapping.
We for sure do.
Let's take a look at those maybe.
Let's do it. What's the longest iron you play now? Is it that 5 in your spec sheet?
5.
Any reason for no 4 or?
I can't hit a 4-iron.
Okay.
I mean, if we can solve that issue, that would be fun.
So this is where things get pretty interesting. We want to check out the long irons. Now, I would have thought that 4-iron could go into your bag just based on how high you hit it. Most players, again, if they're at the 75-foot peak height range with their 7-iron, their 4-iron's probably not doing that or more, right? For you, you don't have that height issue. But essentially, what we're looking for here, so we average out at 129.5 ball speed with your 7-iron. So it's a nice quick ball speed. We want to see 5 mile per hour increase per club because we're moving up in our set. Every mile per hour of ball speed is 2 to 3 yards downrange. So that gives us that 10 to 15 yard separation with 5 between each. So essentially we're moving up 2 clubs here to your 5-iron. We want to see 139 ball speed. Okay. The other thing that I want to see is you peak out your 7-iron on average at 102. I always ask players, how high should your 5 go if you're 102? And they start doing the math. I'm like, the number's right there. We want to hit the same window. We want to peak it at 102. And if it goes higher, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, cool.
How'd you hit that one?
I thought I hit it really good.
Okay. So there's where it's interesting, and we see this with a lot of players. You thought you hit it pretty good. Your 7-iron's flying 179.7, so call it 180. Ball speed on that was 126.7, so it's slower than your 7-iron, but it carried 183. So it carried 3 yards further than your 7.
Wow.
So if that was a consistent thing that we kept seeing, that's when we start looking at blending sets to give you a little bit more ball speed, because if you did hit it great, then that iron's just not doing its job, right?
Interesting.
There's the strike, right? So that first one was a cool example because you're like, hey, I thought I hit it pretty decent.
Yeah.
Now we see 139 ball speed come up. We see that carry of 207, and guess what the peak height was?
104.
102.
Wow.
Right, so that's right where the 7-iron is.
That's cool.
So I always explain to players, everyone kind of has it backwards in a sense. They think their wedges should go high and their long irons should go low, and that is what most people do in golf.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we want wedges to come in low and penetrating because they're going to spin so much.
Yeah.
But with a 4 or a 5-iron or long iron of any sort, you don't have the luxury of all that backspin to stop it on a green. So you need peak height and descent angle to come in so it lands soft and stops.
Wow, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
When you put it like that, it seems so obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Little skinny, but good flight.
I mean, super good flight for a skinny 5.
And that's still kind of right there for ball speed. Like it was 136. So that comes up a little shy at 200, but that's a good miss, right?
Yeah.
Like go take that on course.
Great miss.
Good swing there. So we see the 140 number come back up. Your height's there. You can stop this golf ball. So for me, I just need you to prove to me that you're capable of doing that with your 5-iron on a consistent basis. I wouldn't hate trying a 4-iron for you though.
Okay.
So we're gonna try T100 4-iron, but this is where it's like, if you feel a little shaky with it at all, or if the ball speed's too close to a 5-iron, that's where we start shifting to T150. Stronger loft, so we get that little extra ball speed. Again, you're gonna always kind of hit everything high at your speed. So we just need to make sure that, you know, if we do get into a 4-iron, that it does the 4-iron's job.
Let's try that out. I've been fighting 4-iron. The 4-iron in my bag is currently in my garage because I don't like using it on the course.
Okay.
And it was never a height issue, it was purely just a contact thing.
When that's the other cool part about blending sets. So when you get into a 150, it gets slightly larger than 100, and 250 the same thing, even 350 the same thing, or even a T250U or U505 utility iron. Tour players, again, 80% are in blended sets. They're not quite the people that are asking, hey, I need more forgiveness because I can't hit a 4-iron. Like Justin Thomas can hit a 4-iron just fine. But they'll take it when it's there, right? Yeah. But then, you know, guys like us, it's like, yeah, hey, like if I have a little bit of an easier club to hit, right? Just because you play T100s across the board doesn't mean that your 4-iron has to be a T100. We just needed to do a 4-iron's job.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, this is a great example though, right? So we hit 4 shots with the T100 5-iron.
Yeah.
You kind of hit the first one a little bit, but then the next 3 were exactly right on the number that we want, the height that we want. Now we're sitting here, we are 0.1 mile an hour faster than our 4-iron with this club.
Yeah.
So it flies less than 3 yards further. It goes 10 feet lower. So it's like, why would you play a 4-iron, right? But that's where it's like most people will say, well, I bought this 4-through pitching wedge and then now my 4-iron's in my garage.
Yeah.
Now's the shift here to T150 4-iron. There's 144 ball speed, which is bang on the number we'd be looking for.
The contact was way better.
Maybe one more with that. It's better, but there's still some metrics that are maybe lacking a hair.
I mean, consistent.
So we're sitting here on an average of 142. So we gained 3 miles an hour just by shifting to that.
Yeah.
Our target's kind of 144 with this club. So that's where we'd shift to 250 and just have you hit that and see.
Like night and day.
Yeah. So that makes life easier for sure, right? So 5-iron flying 206 on average. So I'm looking at that carry number versus what this does too. I don't want this to go 230 in the air.
Right.
Now for reference, T100, we were 208 carry, right? 83 peak height, so no bueno there. When we go to T150, we're 213 in the air and we're 96 peak height, so a much better number. And then now in T250, we're sitting at 219 in the air and we're at 101 peak height.
Wow.
You know, that's where it's like, you know, obviously we should look at blending, right? Now, if you have a hybrid that does the job of that and you like it better, great, but there's just not a scenario where T100 4-iron benefits you, but you hit a T100 5-iron, great.
Yeah.
Right? You just need a little help with not only height, but ball speed as well, and that's why we shift.
I think if you told me before we started that you'll get my 4-iron to go the same height as my 7-iron, I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool to see how well I was hitting this after how poorly I hit the 100. I hit the 150 a little bit better.
Yep.
But this was like effortless.
Yeah, exactly, right? And it's cool because just 1-iron away, 5-iron, you hit great in a T100, but everybody, including the best players in the world, have a breaking point in their iron set. Some players it's a 6-iron, some players it might be a 3-iron, right? And for you, that breaking point was just after 5.
This is one of those things too where you would never know this if you just pulled a set off the rack. I'm sure you want people to buy clubs off the rack. That's a portion of your business, but getting fit, there's just no experience like that, I think, especially getting fit by someone with your knowledge, knowing your product, that it's like, I wouldn't have picked this club up and be like, oh yeah, I just need the 4-iron to do what everything else is doing. So that, I think from an experience standpoint, that was just so cool to see.
At the end of the day, what I would say is like, if you're trying to bring height down, in a golf club, always think wider means higher. So hybrid's gonna wanna go a heck of a lot higher than this, and then, you know, vice versa, like a 7-wood or a 5-wood will go higher than a hybrid, right? So the low ball hitters, I'm gonna try to put into a 7-wood or 5-wood. Someone like you hits it up in the air, we might even try and see if, you know, again, strike consistency is the biggest thing, but this will, of the 3 options, will wanna go the lowest for you.
Interesting. Let's try it.
Let's try it out. You wanna see something around the 150 ball speed mark with this club.
Challenge accepted. And that felt buttery.
148.5 there, so good swing.
Gotta step it up is what you're saying.
That's 230 in the air.
Whoops.
Let's say 230 in the air too, but 100 peak height.
Was it really?
Yeah, so it's like, again, it could be a great tee weapon, but it's going to be great off of a fairway or out of the rough into a green for you.
Wow. I can't believe how high this is going for a 3-iron.
It's pretty cool, eh?
Really cool.
And now it's even that where it's like, this could be the scenario where we do look at almost maybe like skipping an iron in your set if you needed something for, say, off the tee or into a green. But right now, 3-iron isn't quite giving us enough ball speed or even carry versus what we got in your new 4.
Oh, really?
So in our 4-iron, we carried the golf ball 219. These on average, now first one was really good at 230 in the air, but now we see the average at 222 total carry with this club. So this is almost where I might shift. This is U505 and that's 2-iron.
Ah, okay.
.151 ball speed.
I only laughed because I didn't think a 2-iron could go this high.
Well, and that's kind of part of the reason why I gave you that U505, a little bit of a wider sole on it that's going to help get the golf ball in the air. That was 237 carry, but it was 100-foot apex, so the same as your 7-iron.
That's insane. Jeez.
So it could be, again, it could be a cool little weapon off the tee because that's going to be a similar loft to kind of what your 3 hybrid is, right?
I mean, that was easy to hit. Both of those.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, there's a miss hit.
So even that miss hit was 148.9 ball speed when we're trying to achieve something around the 150 mark. So the 3-iron, like I said, was only a couple yards more than what your T250 4-iron was.
Right.
This now averages out to 231.7 carry. And it is a flatter flight. You have the ability to hit it 100 feet like we saw, but it averages out at 82. So it could be a really good windy day, Calgary tee option for you as well.
I didn't think I was coming here expecting to like a 2-iron, but I really like this 2-iron.
Yeah.
Wow. Guys, what another amazing fitting session by the Titleist team. Ryan, do you want to tell the audience again just what we got fit into?
Yeah, absolutely. So Brandon went into T100 5-through pitching wedge, 1 degree flat in those, and he kept his Modus 120X shaft. We shifted into a T250 4-iron there, and then after that one, we even got him into a U505 2-iron.
So cool. And Ryan, thank you so much for all the product knowledge. Really excited for the general public to hit the same irons that I did because those things feel so sweet. If any of you guys want the same fitting experience I had, I'm going to put a link to the Titleist website in the description of this video so you guys can experience this amazing fitting. Thanks again for watching. We'll check in with you guys next time.